It's your boy Bruse Wane, Wayne Enterprises, Hip Hop Heads Worldwide. I got a special guest. One integral part of the legendary group, Digital Underground. Money B, what's the deal, baby?
What's happening, man? How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem, man, no doubt. Digital Underground, one of the basically very influential group as far as the music style and core elements of hip hop, which basically was having fun. At the time you guys came, that you kind of like y'all blew the game on its air. You know what I mean? As far as coming in, and I'm an East Coast cat. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I remember when you guys came, it was like whoa, and we didn't really know what to make of you guys because we heard Humpty, and Humpty was rapping like he was from Brooklyn. Right. And we was like, what the fuck is going on with this dude with the big nose rapping like he from Flatbush? But yo, before we even get into that, I want to get into Money B. You know what I mean? I want people to know about
before we even go further with that though, it's amazing that you said that because Shock was actually born in Brooklyn, I believe.
Oh, word?
Yeah.
It was ill because like I said, we was like, yo, this dude sound like an East Coast dude. But he's definitely repping Cali, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But as far as Money B, as far as you, what was your introduction to hip hop?
I was introduced to hip hop like a lot of people, you know, my age group, you know, when of course Rappers Delight came out, and that was mainstream, but you know, I'm originally, you know, my family's from Philadelphia, so I would spend a lot of summers out in Philly and New Jersey and whatnot when I was younger, and I had older cousins that would go like, you know, to block parties and things like that, and they would have the tapes and get the records. So I just remember hearing, you know, like Spoonie G, Super Rhymes, and you know, Grandmaster Flash, and some of the tapes of the cats, the local cats in Philly, that the DJs mixing stuff. So it was just, you know, music was around me, and my parents were actually, you know, they had me at a young age, so they were very musically inclined as well. So I just grew up always hearing music, whether it was my older cousins introduced me to hip hop, but even before that, you know, just the Stevie Wonder and the James Brown and whatever was hip at the time. My parents were rocking to it, and so I would just hear it growing up.
Okay. What made you decide, like, I don't know if you came in first. We all came in as fans, you know what I'm saying? But as far as the MC aspect, was that your first, like, being a part of it, or did something else come before that, like maybe like even like graffiti or beatboxing or dancing, or was it straight like, I want to grab that mic?
Nah, I started out b-boying, like, you know, breakdancing and popping and doing all of that shit. And I thought I was gonna be a DJ. You know, I've been calling myself Money B since I was like 13 years old. But, you know, like I said, music was around me. So as soon as I was able to have my own money with my allowance and whatnot, I started buying my own records. I remember, I think the first record I bought with my money was, I think it was Rocket by Herbie Hancock. Either that or Planet Rock. It was one of those.
Yo, you took it back. That was the joint. You talking about Rocket? Don't stop it. No.
That's Planet Rock. I'm talking about Rocket. It was an instrumental by Herbie Hancock, Rocket, and it had scratching in it. You got to go back and check it out.
I got to go back because I know Herbie had some amazing stuff, and that's crazy. I've spoken to a lot of people. You're like one of the first dudes that actually brought Herbie Hancock up, man. Herbie Hancock is like a forgotten pioneer, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was. I mean, it was, you know.
They bring up the Bambadas, they bring up the Flashes, they bring up like a lot, but you don't really hear too much Herbie Hancock. Wow.
Yeah, Herbie Hancock, Rocket. Go back and, you know, for all y'all, go back and do your research. Check that record out. I think that was the first record that spent my money on. My dad would buy me, like I said, he bought me Planet Rock and other records that were coming out at the time. But when I started spending my money, it was Rocket, and then I bought the what was it called? It was by the Cold Crush Brothers, punk rock rap, punk
Okay.
rock, shit like that.
Mhm.
Um, the the uh, the Fearless Four, um, you know, Problems of the World Today, shit like that. When I started buying my joint, and then I got handed down some of the Sugar Hill records like the Treacherous Three and like I said, the Spoonie G's and uh, Sugar Hill Gang and the Sequence and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. All those records were handed down to me by my older cousins. Like here, you can have these records. You know what I mean? So I was building a record collection from a very young age, even
And
before I started rhyming. And then
also it's building a foundation.
yeah, and then
Foundation.
Run DMC came out and they just blew my mind. Like that was the if you think about it, that Run DMC ushered in the from the beginning of the whole Sugar Hill records of remaking beats with the live band and rapping over Chic and all that stuff. Run
Hold
DMC
on,
ushered in the
hold on.
drum machine kind of era of hip hop.
I
Run
want
DMC and LL,
I
and that
want
kind of blew my mind.
I
That's
want
what
to
took
ask you
me into rhyming.
I want to ask you I want to jump back a little bit.
Sure.
The Money B, you said you was calling yourself that from like a very young age. So you
Right.
dubbed yourself that. No one was yo, we gonna call you Money B, or that wasn't like the little
Nah. Remember, I said that I used to break dance,
yeah.
right? So as a popper, popping and whatnot, um, my first like breakdancing name, whatever. I was the Egyptian Kid because, like I said, I used to do the King Tut shit,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so just one day, me and my cousin Greg, we fucking around. Like I said, I'm like 13, and remember I said originally, um, my family's from Philly, so I used to go back to Philly a lot, and it was a lot of like T Money and money this and money that. It was popular
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
So it was just like, so randomly I said, should my rapping name be Egyptian Kid or should it be Money B or my DJ name? And my cousin just said Money B, and I was like, all right, cool. Like I didn't put no thought into it.
Yeah, but you definitely correct though that the money thing was definitely big in New York as well. Everybody knew
Yeah,
money something,
yeah.
money this.
Everybody was money something,
That
T Money or this money or Cash
everybody
Money.
was money grip or yo, what up, money?
Yeah, DJ Cash Money and this money and that money. So it was just,
Definitely right.
I just jumped on it. You
But
know what I mean?
you said as far as the Run DMC influence, you said they were
Yeah. So Run DMC, when they came out, I was blown away, and I had all the Run DMC posters on my wall. And I think my first rap that I ever recorded was off of Jam Master Jay by Run DMC. J-A-Y, all the letters of his name.
yeah.
That one, that beat. That was the first that was the first rap I ever recorded, was over that instrumental.
Okay.
So I'll never forget that.
The
So that
first
was like what? That was like 80, 84,
I
83,
don't know,
84, 85, something like that.
Run,
Huh?
Run DMC was definitely influential because the first rap I ever learned from front to back was Suck MC. So Run
Yeah, everybody learned. You had to
yeah,
know
that
that.
was like the
It's
first
cool.
joint ever I'll ever
Yeah,
learn. So that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so you said basically you was hip hop through and through as far as the
yeah, man.
foundation, the family influence, being a part of the B-boy movement and the pop and the lock, and you was definitely all the elements was already
Yeah,
around.
I'm real hip hop. Believe it
Yeah,
or not.
all the elements all the elements was already around you. But as far as the MCing and really wanting to do the MC thing, that was Rum DNC as well. And
Yeah. So around that time is when I really took interest in actually writing. So I've always been um, a creative person. Like I used to draw. Like I actually went to a school for art, like an art school for drawing and shit like that. So it was just the creative was gonna come out of me one way or another, whether it was through art, whether it's through expressing myself through DJing, but then the rhyming bug just hit me right around that time, and it was I'm not gonna say it was easy, but it was natural. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And even before I really found my voice in it, because remember back then, in the early '80s or whatnot, everybody was you had to be loud and boisterous as an MC, right? And
Hmm.
that's why I kind of say like I took a liking to Spoonie G because he was smooth. He had the smooth flow, right?
Yeah.
And then even like if you remember Ramel Z, K Rob and Ramel Z, they had their record Beat Bop. He had the real mellow flow, and then probably the most influential person on me really wanting or believing that I could rap was a guy named Too Short in Oakland, California, because
A legend.
you know just to see Too Short, a person that was in my city that I could physically see and touch, because I thought that you had to be from New York to put out a rap record before Too Short. And Too Short was making tapes and stuff from like 82, 83. We knew about Too Short way back then,
Yeah.
along with Run DMC. That's how long Too Short's been relevant and in the game.
Yeah.
Like when Run DMC was at their peak, Too Short was making records.
Too short.
And so to see that, I was like, wow, I could really do this. You know what I mean? If he can. So Too Short was a big influence on me as well. And
You know what's
because I
crazy?
didn't have like huh?
You know what's very interesting about Too Short?
Sure.
By the time most of us cats over here in the East Coast probably got like really like wind of Too Short, he probably was already 10 plus years in, damn near. Like he was like the
Absolutely.
best kept secret. We was like, he just
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm
Cause
saying?
yeah, cause he didn't hit MTV Raps till like '89 with Life Is Too Short. That's probably the first time people outside of my community recognized Too Short. And
Oh,
we was tripping like to see him on MTV Raps. That was like 80, '89. I believe that record came out. He had a deal. He was independent, but then he did a deal with Jive Records, and
oh,
that's when his shit became national. And so if you heard of him in '89, '90, like you said, he was already like 8 years deep with us.
he was deep
You
already.
know,
He was already deep and respected. Entrepreneur
word.
always respected in this game. Um,
Yep.
as far as the whole digital underground, how did that take place? How did that form? How did you meet this
Well,
G?
Digital Underground was, that was Shock G's baby. You know what I mean? He had Digital Underground out. Remember I said Shock was born in Brooklyn, so
Yeah.
he's originally from New York, but he grew up, or at least his formidable years, high school or whatever, in Tampa, Florida, and then he migrated to California in the Bay Area after that. But he had Digital Underground, was the concept of Digital Underground. I believe he had that started with his crew in Tampa, Florida, Kenny K and some of the other cats that he used to rock with. Um,
Okay.
he had a record, or Digital Underground had a record in '88 called Underwater Rhymes before me and Fuse got in the group. So he was in the Bay Area. They were promoting this 12-inch Underwater Rhymes, and at the same time, Fuse and I, DJ Fuse, who's the DJ for Digital Underground, we were a group before we got Digital Underground. We were called Raw Fusion,
Okay.
and we were doing talent shows and shopping our demo, but on the same circuit that Shock G and Chop Master J, Digital Underground were on those same shows promoting their independent records. And kind of to make a long story short, they needed a DJ, and Fuse was like the hottest DJ in the Bay at the time. You know what I'm saying? And we kind of just, they needed a DJ, and Fuse decided to work with them through our managers. We kind of worked it out to where we kind of fused into one group from Raw Fusion and Digital Underground. We kind of came together and started working together. So the first Digital Underground record that I appeared on was Do What You Like,
Yeah.
which was in 1989 as well.
Yeah. Which is a banging record. The whole Humpty character. Did you have any influence in that? Like the whole nose and the glasses and all that?
Nah, the first time that the Humpty character was introduced was in the Do What You Like video,
Oh,
and it was just a character. It didn't have a name or anything. He just dressed up and did this character, but people took notice of it. It was funny, and started to create this persona for this character, and and when we were finishing up the album, one of the records that we wanted didn't get cleared. The sample didn't get cleared, so we had to come up with two new songs to finish the album. So the last two songs recorded for Sex Packets was the Humpty Dance and Freaks of the Industry.
okay.
And we made the record, and he assigned Humpty Hump, Shock G did, to that character, to that music, and man, it became what it became.
Yeah, yeah. My whole thing was what I'm really trying to get at is like, cause like I'm saying, as you was already an artist, he's an artist, and I know if someone just came up to me and was like, "Yo," with the nose and glasses, I'm like, "What the hell you doing?" You know what I'm saying? Like at first,
Well,
I'm like, did it bug you out? That's what I'm trying to say. Like
it it
initially
it,
seeing the character, was you like, "Whoa, what's this about? Is
it
this gonna
did,
work?"
but we were all bugged out anyway, and
Yeah,
that was the one thing about Digital Underground and coming out of the Bay Area in Oakland, because in the Bay Area, everybody's allowed to be themselves. Like we weren't rigid like that, and not to, this is not saying less of anything, but you just remember, like, just say out of New York, everybody holding their joint and wanting to be tough, and they you know what I mean? Everybody's the toughest man alive.
nah, man, that's a stereotype.
We didn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, the
That's
niggas is
like me saying
chilling.
y'all had Jerry curls and automatic weapons. Come on, man. That's what I'm saying.
We didn't. But what I'm saying is, we didn't even have that. I'm just saying, like, us as individuals,
Yeah.
he was a wild dude from the time I met him, and he was allowed to be that because I'm like, all right, cool, fuck it. You know what I
But you
mean?
know what?
If that's you,
are
that's
you
you.
are you are right though, because over here, I guess like it took like De La Soul to really have us be like, okay, let me be
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, yeah. To ease off of it, right? So we,
You right,
we.
you got a point. Yeah.
Our thing was like, okay, if that's what you want to do, cool, let's go. You know what I mean? It was. He. Don't get me wrong. Shaka is always has been and still is a very unique individual, right? But you my whole thing was, do you, be yourself, because I was allowed to do that as well. I was always the the, the party guy. I like to have a good time, and you know, I back then I could party real hard. Like,
Don't be
I could
ashamed,
I could
brother.
drink with the best of them.
Don't be ashamed.
Huh?
Don't be ashamed. You done found Jesus. You don't want to talk about it, huh? He's
Nah, 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 nah.
like, yo, I used to, but you.
Yeah, I used to kick it. So, I never turned down a good time. Don't threaten me with that, because I used to do it. So,
Yeah.
I was that guy that liked to kick it and stay out late, and we all just did our thing. So
Yeah, man.
it worked.
Definitely, the Humpty Dance was definitely huge. Do What You Like was huge. Just huge records. What's the relationship like with Shock today?
We communicate through, like, he just hit me an email, so we communicate that way. Um, Shock and I, our relationship was always like more of a like a family, like a big brother or whatever, a brother relationship where we when we came together, it was cool. You have your brother, your family. You don't hang out with them, but when y'all get together, it's good.
Yeah,
And that's how, because Shock is a few years older than me. Shock was more of a musician. He was the guy that brought the funk, and as you can tell, I was the hip hop guy, right?
yeah,
So we kind of ran in different circles. So it wasn't like we were, it wasn't like we grew up together from the same neighborhood or we were best friends and we went to high school together.
yeah.
None of that shit. We came together strictly to get
For
this music
business.
done.
Y'all,
Yeah,
y'all came
we
together.
came together like that, but
Came
it was
together
it was
for
a
business.
it was a great working relationship, but it wasn't like we were buddy, like we didn't call each other like, what you doing today, like that. It
Yeah,
was more like, bro, come to the studio. I got some new shit. Let's do it. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So it's always been like that. So we come together when it's time to get it in, work, tour, whatever. Other than that, he do what he do. Like he's in Florida right now, and I'm in Southern California. So we you know we don't see each other, but whenever we need to communicate or get something done, we know how to reach each other and we talk. So we're good.
yeah. What was it? What was your introduction to pop, man? When he came,
Pac,
like, how did that even happen?
well, Pac, he was signed to the same label and management that we had, TNT Records with H and Gregory, through Layla Steinberg, who was his manager and the manager of a group that he was in called Strictly Dope. And so when Atron was deciding to sign Tupac in that group, he wanted us to be his ears to tell us if we thought they were dope or not. So they actually auditioned for Shock, and then as a group auditioned for us, and that was my first introduction to him. Meeting up at my manager's crib and them pulling up and rapping for us on the street in front of the crib, and him and Ray Love were the rappers in this group Strictly Dope, and they rhymed, and I thought that they both were okay rappers, but once we started to get to know them, Pac's personality was, you just knew that it was something about him. He just commanded the attention in the room when you were around him, and he was so he was hungry, and he just was I ain't gonna say focused, but he just was he wanted it. He wanted it bad, and he wasn't gonna let nothing stop it. So you kind of were drawn to his energy.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I wanted to get at because,
Yeah.
sometimes you meet certain people, and then it's like, especially you might hear someone's music and the music is dope, and you meet them and the person's asshole. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're like, yo, your music is dope, bro, but your personality, yo, what's really
Yeah,
good.
and then sometimes you can meet somebody who his music is not even that dope, but their personality just draws you to it. Like the way that they, we can go down the line of people that have made it that might not have been the best MC technically, but
Yeah,
just the whole personality and what they embodied was just
yeah.
dope,
Whole
you know. Yep. And so Pac, he had this it thing about him from the very beginning. Like, obviously nobody knew that it would become like a fucking global icon for eternity, but we knew that the talent was there. He definitely had work ethic, like unlike anything I've ever seen,
Yeah.
and he just was not going to be denied. Let me just say that.
Yeah. When did you find out about the Panther background? Now,
Uh,
is that something he wore on his sleeve, or was it like, how did that come about? You know what I mean? Like,
just in conversation, he actually had a song that Strictly Dope had called Panther Power, but that's one of the ways that him and I connected is that my parents were in the Black Panther Party actually, so and then when people hear that they were like, well, did you guys talk about it? And it wasn't really like we sat around talking Black Panther things,
yeah,
but what it was is that when he would express himself, I understood where he was coming from because we had kind of similar like backgrounds. He would talk and have these ideas, and people would just look at him like he was so radical and like, this is crazy to think like this. But for me, I had been hearing that type of talk all my life, so it wasn't strange, and I was very accepting of what he was trying to get across. And I think he felt, to some degree, a little bit of comfort in talking to me because he understood that I understood. And so it wasn't like he had to get past or explain anything to me, whereas sometimes he's talking and he has to explain like, oh, I'm not saying literally this is what I want to do and why can't we do this? He didn't have to explain that shit to me. It's just like I know what he was talking about. I'm like, all right, let's go. So we could move quickly to the thing that we were trying to do as opposed to all of the explanation shit. You know, so that's what made our relationship work and what was unique about both of our upbringings.
Yeah.
So, I always have to say that because people, when they find out, my parents were the Black Panthers, well, his mother and my father became really good friends,
Oh,
through us because his mom was a New York Panther, and of course my dad was a Panther in Oakland. And what people don't know is that at one time there was actually like a East Coast West Coast beef within the Black Panthers. That was like the first East Coast West Coast
wow.
beef, which was perpetuated um, by the FBI and COINTELPRO when they infiltrated the party. They always put us together, pit us against each other, and
Basic.
that actually happened. So um,
Riding
it
car.
wasn't like our parents were moving um, united. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Both were on different sides of the ledger, but at the end of the day, through us, they came together and they, and it was beautiful, and they became really good friends. Um, and it wasn't like they were beefing before, because they didn't know each other. But I'm just saying, just because you were a Black Panther doesn't mean you automatically knew or was rocking with, because there were different factions in different cities. And, that's a whole nother episode if we really want to get into that.
You know what I'm saying? That's going beyond time constraints. But
Yeah, you got to read my autobiography, man. I know a lot.
yeah. That verse you laid down on that Tupac joint.
Right.
Get around. Dope
I get
verse.
around.
Let's talk
Thank
about it. What was the creative process like with that song?
you.
And the verse, you
What,
killed the verse.
well, what's crazy is that song originally, that beat Shock made for Digital Underground, and we was riding around with the instrumental for like 6 months, and nobody knew what to do with it because we knew the beat was dope. We didn't want to fuck it up, so
Yeah.
everybody, we was like scared to write to it,
Yeah.
right? And then long story short, it kind of got passed within our crew, and then I guess Tupac had already moved to LA. He'd already left the Bay Area, and his Shock was like, "Yo, I need a record. I got a deadline." And then Shock was like, "Yo, we got this one beat that everybody liked, but nobody did nothing." And he shot him the track. Tupac turns around and asks us to be on it. Um, but he had to set up the session in the Bay for us to record it because he was in LA. So, like, remember I told you, like, Tupac, he was the type of person that he did everything to make sure that it was going to work, and he wanted us on this record. So just to make it easy, he thought that basically he wrote verses for us just in case we didn't have time to write our own verse.
Yeah,
So
that's definitely somebody that want to make sure.
he wanted to make sure, and he so the verse that Shock sings in that song, Tupac actually wrote that verse. Shock just kind of tweaked it a little bit to fit himself. The verse that he wrote for me, I wasn't feeling it, so I was like, I'm writing my own shit. And I did when I finally recorded it. Tupac called me. He's like, "Yo, did you do your verse?" And we just had that relationship. I was like, "Nigga, I killed you on your own song. Wait till you hear it." And he's like, "Ah, fuck you, nigga." I was like, "All right."
You just went straight
and then,
juggler. I killed you on your own
yeah,
song.
when he, yeah, I was like, "I killed you on your own shit." And so when he heard it, I was like, "You heard it?" And I was like, "I killed you, right?" He's like, "Whatever." It's like, it's all right. So we just,
Nah, you laid a timeless verse on that, man. Kudos.
huh?
Yeah, that verse is timeless. I mean, the song is timeless, but
Yeah.
that verse is definitely timeless that you laid on there too, man.
Yeah, it worked. And then I
Did
gotta
he
give
give it
a
up
shout
though?
out to, huh?
Did he give it up?
As best he could, He's like, all right, it's cool.
Ain't too bad gonna say
Hey,
you killed on my own joint.
yeah, nah, he wasn't never gonna say that. But that was our little thing that we had going. But even on that song, I got to give it up to Shop because Shop made the track, but
Yeah.
he actually, and this is what I don't, a lot of producers don't do this or they don't know how to do this, but Shop actually produced our vocals, meaning he coached us to sound good on the track. A lot of niggas make beats and they be like, all right, just go ahead and rhyme, and they just let you do it. But Shock was like, nah, switch that, change that word, or pitch that syllable up this way. So I wrote the verse, but he produced me to sound like that.
Yeah.
So it was dope.
Yeah, definitely dope. Definitely a timeless record. You guys were, man. Yeah, man. One part, you guys were actually, y'all were huge. How did y'all get on that movie soundtrack? Nothing But Trouble. How did that happen?
That was through Tommy Boy. Dan Aykroyd, we were signed to Tommy Boy Records, and for what I understand, they originally wanted De La Soul, who were our label mates on Tommy Boy. They wanted them, but because De La was so busy, we was like, the label was like, what about Digital Underground? And Dan Aykroyd wasn't so familiar, so he actually came to one of our concerts in LA that we killed, and he loved us from there. And that was the first record that Tupac was featured on, the Digital Underground record.
Yeah.
He had already been touring with us. He was already part of the group, and Pop had been around us since the very beginning, but just a part of the other group, right? So he was, he was a part of our musical family, but that was the first record that the world heard of, Tupac on. And
right record, because that was global.
And even with that record, we always had this thing. My goal was to make my verse better than Tupac, and his was to make his verse better than mine.
Yeah, that's a real camp. Ain't nobody just gonna sitting back. That's the what they say. So still sharpen steel.
Yeah. To the very end, we always would argue about whose verse was best. On that song. But yeah, man, that was the introduction. But that's how it happened. Dan Aykroyd came and saw us, and he fell in love.
What was it? Yeah, man. That's like I said, you guys, timeless joints that definitely we enjoyed over here on the East Coast. You know what I'm saying? Hold on a second. I'm glad you touched on that, as I saw you look down with the NWA. What's the affiliation? Because there is an affiliation. What's the affiliation with Digital Underground and NWA?
Oh, two parts to that. So this shirt is Niners, I'm 49ers. Niners with attitude. But NWA, the group, actually, remember how I told you Adrian Gregory, who managed us and who we're signed to, and he signed Tupac. And remember I told you when he bought Tupac around, we were his ears to tell him if Tupac was dope or not, right?
Yeah.
Well, Adrian actually got his money. He started out as the tour manager working for Jerry Heller and Ruthless Records. So he road managed NWA, JJ Fad, Eazy-E, and all of them. That's how he got his money to fund the Digital Underground records. So when he was going to sign Digital Underground, he actually used Ren and Ice Cube and them as his ears to tell him if he should fuck with us.
Okay.
So we were actually, in a sense, descendants of NWA. We come from that tree, and we were actually fortunate enough to spend time around anytime NWA would come to town, because Adrian would be, he would be the road manager or whatever. He would bring us around, so we got to be around them and kind of see it up close, what it was like, before we actually were out there doing it. We got to be backstage and in clubs and see how this shit looked like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what's ill? It's crazy. Yeah. It's a compliment. It's definitely a compliment to you guys as far as Digital Underground, where a hardcore act like that can listen to you guys and be like, yo, you need to sign them dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are like, This is like the hardest of the hardcore act, because I remember in my days when I first got introduced to NWA and I went to my man's house who was a DJ, and I was like, who the fuck are these niggas? You know what I'm saying? They were like hard, blow your mind, and Digital Underground, y'all wasn't coming on no extra gangster shit like that. And when gangster niggas could sit down and be like, yo, sign them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
well, at the end of the day, man, we had that funk, and
yeah,
that's what, funk is funk. Regardless of what you say on the top of it, it's funky.
yeah, funk
So it,
comes all,
you know what I mean? So we had that funk. Dre and NWA, they came from that funk shit. EPMD, Eric Sermon and them. That's why Eric Sermon and Shock, they built the bond like that. And E-Dub was my man because it's that funk.
yeah.
I had Eric Sermon on my show, and he admitted how many times he sampled the Humpty Dance. He was like, "Yo, some of my favorite records." He's like, "Yo, I put the Humpty in that shit."
Yeah. That's another thing too. I never asked you about that. How did the dance originate? Like, where did that come from? I just, you know what I
But
mean?
we made the record before we had the dance, but fortunately and unfortunately, in 1989 we had a huge earthquake in the Bay Area, San Francisco earthquake in 1989. Fucked shit up, but it was some of the dance derived from an earthquake. Like you can't stand up. You know what I mean? Because we were trying to come up with it. That some of that inspired the dance.
You actually feel any of the tremors from that earthquake?
Nigga, I was in that shit. I
Yo,
was in.
yo,
Oh my god,
you know
I'll
what's
never forget
crazy?
that day.
And I know y'all earthquakes can't, I know over in New York, we can't even
A lot
come.
of people died, man.
Yeah,
Look that shit up. It
yeah,
fucked up the World Series and everything.
yeah. That's crazy.
It collapsed the Bay Bridge.
I remember we had a little earthquake over here years ago. I know I can't compare to that. And I was blown out my mind. How's you holding up with this whole pandemic thing, man? It's,
To be honest with you, for me, I've always, worked from home anyway. You see, I got the home studio behind me.
got the actual,
Like, yeah, so I don't leave I'm not a person that really leaves the house anyway, unless I'm about to jump on a plane and go do a show somewhere. That stopped. But
yeah,
other than that,
yeah,
I'm home, and then also, my wife, she works from home as well. So things didn't really change in that aspect. The only thing that had changed was really for my 6-year-old who's doing distance learning, homeschool. So that's the big difference.
yeah, that's the,
And just like I said, going out and doing shows, that's changed.
yeah, I missed
But
that.
but it also, like I said, for anybody, if you didn't learn something new or pick up a new skill, then you wasted your time, right? So
Yeah,
I did learn a few things and picked up some new skills, and I believe that to the best of my ability, I've benefited from the situation.
yeah,
I've
definitely.
grown.
Definitely helped a lot of people as far as the creative process, finding other outlets, trying to find other revenue streams, it's everything.
Yeah, because sometimes, you always say that you're going to do this, you're going to do that, but you're running so fast, you never have the time to just slow down and do it. This made everybody sit their ass down.
Yeah.
And if you was really going to do it, then you was going to do it.
Yeah, like what we doing right now, I'm really doing it. Because I was so busy running and ripping it and doing tours and doing shows myself. I used to do this a couple of years ago as far as interviews, and then I just stopped because there was no time, but obviously I got the time.
Yeah, and same thing. Like I actually do a show as well.
Yeah, I checked you out.
Yeah, so I had stopped doing that, but this whole pandemic kind of allowed me to reinvent it and start doing it again.
Yeah, but hopefully this isn't too much longer, so stages can be hit.
And, yeah, everybody trying to get on out.
And bottles can be sipped. I don't know. I ain't gonna go that far. But yeah,
I don't think you're gonna ever share 40 again.
Nah. Yo, I ain't gonna front. It's gonna be hard to go back to normal because dudes be trying to come up and give me dap. I be looking at them like, yo, what are you doing? They come,
exactly.
They come with an open fist. They come with an open palm, and I'm coming at them with a palm, and they insist on trying to go past the palm and still try to grab my hand. I be like, yo,
you gotta bust out the Wakanda.
Watch the news. I'm like, what's really good? Like you living in your own world, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But as far as Digital Underground, like I said, definitely a major impact in the game. What was it like, you know, just seeing him bud from the background dancer to getting that big as far as Pac? You know what I'm saying?
Well, if you remember when I told you that, you know, even before me and Fuse were in Digital Underground, we had our own thing, right?
Yeah.
So Digital Underground was more like a big production team. So Shock, he would, you know, basically the idea was come work as part of this production team to get this thing out, and in return, you know, it'll help you get your solo deal or your solo group deal that you wanted. And that's everybody that really ever came through Digital Underground really had aspirations or had their own thing already. You just come work with us, rock with us, and we'll help you get your thing popping, right? So, you know, Pac was already, from the very beginning, he was always shopping for his solo deal. You know, same song and just rocking with us helped him build the relationships and get out there and be seen. You know, because all you had to do was meet him or see him, and you knew that was something special about him, right? Because even his first record really didn't sell. You know, Tupacalypse Now. Yeah. It wasn't a big seller. And, you know, say if he had come out 10 years later with a different label, you know, normally you don't get two chances. But they believed in him, the individual, more than the music. They knew it was something about him. So he was able to make that next record. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, he got a second.
So, yeah, so the second record was strictly for my niggas. That's the one that had I Get Around on it. Yeah. And, you know, I can't say that we were surprised as far as his rise to fame. But like I said, you can never predict that somebody is going to be right there with Bob Marley or Elvis, because that's what Tupac is. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's a martyr.
What was the relationship between you two guys when you know, the newfound success? Was it still like phone calls? Y'all still was homies? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It was. You know, we would talk on the phone. Like once he went to jail, and then you know, being totally honest with you, you know, I didn't communicate. Like at that time I didn't have the money to be able to fly to New York and go visit. You know what I mean? Not that I wouldn't have. I couldn't afford it. Had my own struggles going on, so I didn't get out to see him. And then when he got out and got with Death Row, like I never spent a day or a second around Death Row. So I couldn't tell you what that was like. But we would talk on the phone. We talked on the phone several times, and he invited me to come to LA to some sort of video shoot. I think he was shooting How Do You Want It and Two of America's Most Wanted. Because he shot two videos in the weekend or in a day, some shit like that. And he was, you know, we would talk on the phone, but I had heard what that situation was like, and I just never wanted to put myself in that type of situation where, you know, he was forced to go do something, or I was in the middle or something. You know what I mean? I just heard stories that it wasn't a cool environment. So I was like, I'd rather catch you when you come up here, or if I see you.
Y'all element when you're dealing with the person that, you know, it's different.
Right.
Sometimes different people are different in different elements. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So he
holler at me when you back over here in our element. When you over there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're a little different.
So it was always cool. But yeah, I wasn't about that element. Yeah. So we would talk, but a lot of people was rushing down to LA just to hang out and get a part of it, right? But I just wasn't. I didn't want it like that.
Yeah, that's right. You kept it stand up individual, stand up man, Money B.
I wish I'd have went and got on that All Eyes on Me record though.
So you could have killed.
That would have been some stand up publishing.
Y'all would have got to I killed you argument again. No, I killed you. Nah, he probably left you off on purpose. Yo, you ain't
right.
Got no more records.
So you know, I was hating on the record when it came out.
He got smart.
I don't know about that.
Got no more records. the sleeper cell, come out and kill my shit. Definitely dope. What do you want your legacy to be, man, in hip hop when archaeologists, when they go back and dig us up like they did the pyramids, when they come across Money B, what do you want your legacy to be? What you left behind, man? When people think of you, what do you want them to think of? You know what I'm saying? When they come across you.
Just a solid individual who respected the culture and left it better than what he found it. You know what I mean? Like I already know, and I always tell people, like I wrote my autobiography, and my story is unique, but all of our stories are unique, right?
Yeah.
And even when I talk, I can confidently say that, I've been a part of some hip hop classics. I was a part of a legendary movement. If you want to say Digital Underground, Tupac coming from us. If you want to say West Coast hip hop, whatever you want to say, I was a part of it. I was a part of the culture in itself. I toured with Public Enemy twice. You know what I mean? So a lot of people can't say that. I toured with Big Daddy Kane and Queen Latifah, and I did a lot. You feel me? And it's full circle. Like all I needed was the one time I'm coming out of an airport and I see fucking Run from Run DMC. You know what I mean? I told you how I idolized him, right?
Yeah.
And this nigga double takes and was like, yo, ain't you that kid on I Get Around? I was like, oh shit, Run knows who I am. And he was like, yo, kid, you rocked on that shit. And I was like, okay, I could die now. You know what I mean? So
don't die yet, bro. I'm glad you ain't died.
So I'm just saying that to say, like,
yeah, that was you met your hero and he gave you
yeah. So what I set out to do, I did it, right? So that part of it is done. You can't take it away from me. So anything I do moving forward when it comes to hip hop, or just like I believe that even though everything that I told you that I did, I don't believe that's the best thing that I'll ever do. You know what I mean? So I don't know what it is that like for me, as much as I feel like I've done, I'm hoping that it's secondary when it's all said and done. Like you'll think of me about the shit that I'm about to do for these next 10, 15 years. Those will be my greatest accomplishments. And you say, oh, by the way, he was a dope hip hop nigga too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
His aspirations, but I'm just keeping it real.
Yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Unsung too, man. Unsung too. But I mean, anytime, like I said, you always you shine crazy on any of the Digital Underground tracks, and like you said, you kept on coming in and pissing Pac off. This nigga keep coming on my shit. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, but that's dope. That's dope, man.